Hello, everyone. It's Vesa here at Forever Booked. I'm here with one of my wonderful clients, Dr. Jody Krakowski, the owner of Avena at the Glam Room at Kansas City, Missouri. Jody, thank you for hopping on.
Thanks for having me.
You're most welcome. So I know we've been working together for about 9 or 10 weeks now. So I would just love to dive a little bit into your story. What were you doing before you met Forever Booked? Do you have any other experience with like any other marketing company? Pretty much any kind of situation that you would like to share that it's important for our viewers to hear.
Yeah, definitely. Um, well, my business is about 13 years old. However, the med spa portion of that is only about a year old. And I was very lucky to join a salon spa called the Glam Room. And so then I'm a Vena at the Glam Room, which is the med spa portion. And yeah, I was trying to figure out how I was going to make this work in terms of marketing. And I have done a couple other things marketing wise. The Glam Room has their own marketing team, and so I am fortunate to have access to some of that. But what I found was I didn't have a way to reach outside of their clientele very well. Everything we were doing didn't really seem like it was working. So I did try one other marketing company, yeah, for thousands of dollars. And what that gave me was some really cheesy ads that I couldn't even believe when I saw them. Um, and then it gave me a bunch of clients on my calendar that lived really far away and never showed up ever.
Oh,
I don't even think I had one ever come through the door from that experience. So yeah, so I was on the hunt for another way and stumbled across Forever Booked, and here we are.
now we're here. So, how did it feel? Like, was it frustrating to see that, people were living abroad, you were not being able to get them, an appointment at the clinic? How did you handle that?
Not very well. I was pretty upset at the end of
I
my
can totally.
time, and yeah, and just, I'm like, okay, this isn't working. I need to cancel this. But, of course, after you lose, $10,000 for nothing, no return, um, it's pretty hard to ask for that back. It was pretty frustrating.
Yeah,
So,
that's such an unfortunate story. I'm sorry to hear that. But I'm very happy that we're now working together. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your situation now, working with us?
yeah. So, it is much better. I still don't know how you guys target so well and so closely with the ads. I feel like the ads are much more professional. Some of the estheticians that work next door always see them, so they bring them over to me and they're like, "Dr. K, here's your ad." I've seen them and they're very nice and professional, and I feel like the clients that are coming through the door are quality clients, and they want the education about their skincare, and they want a place that they can come to and trust, and they show up, and they literally half the time live down the street. And my experience recently too has been that even though like a lot of these people have been clients at the Glam Room before, so I feel like it's helping a little bit with validity as well, because they already know the Glam Room and now I'm next door. And I think it's funny that they live down the street and they don't know I'm there, but then we have these ads and here they are. And so they're like, "Oh yeah, I used to get my hair done at the Glam Room." So it's kind of been fun to see that they live like right there and now they're showing up and reactivating and coming through the door. So it's been great.
Good to hear that. I'm
Good
really
to
happy
hear
to
that.
hear that. It looks like now you're having way more visibility. So, based on the past, without working with Forever Book, did you have like any difficulties getting clients at the door, or what were some of the ways that you were sort of helping yourself on that, and how did this impact you now on during this time of the year?
Yeah, so I think previous to that, like I said, I still do. I have access to the marketing team at the Glam Room. And so really, it was about getting the outreach beyond the Glam Room though, because I was doing okay, putting our ads out to their clientele and in their email, blast. And then they do have a Facebook and an Instagram, and his is larger than mine. Mine is still growing. So, I was able to get people in, and I feel like, I've been doing cool sculpting for a long time. And so I was able to get, those clients. I saw an increase come in. Um, through the glam room. But it was still that outreach of getting the people outside the glam room to come through the door. And I kept asking, I'm like, okay, how do we do this? How do we do this? And everyone's like, well, you got to build your Facebook page. You got to do Instagram. I'm like, there has got to be a faster, easier way to do this than I know how. So, yeah, I just started looking. And when I saw that Forever Booked was specific to med spas, I think that makes a big difference, because when you look at all the other marketing companies, and then again, the one that I tried, it wasn't specific. And I really, part of the disappointment with that, I think, was that I didn't feel like they understood my business or what I was trying to do. It looked like it was something that belonged with chiropractors or, some other practice, but it wasn't working for this. So to have somebody behind you that understands med spa and can bring in the clients, left and right is amazing.
I'm really happy to hear that. Yeah, so one of the things that I usually try to mention to my clients is that for a marketing company to be really successful, they have to specialize in one niche. And the more niches that you try, not necessarily they're not gonna work out. It's just that the more you focus on one niche, the more you're gonna be able to understand the depths of it. So I think this is one of the main reasons why our ads are really successful, and our other campaigns that we do, like the booster shot campaign, reaching out to previous clients, is because we've gotten to understand the depths of the industry, and we're now only focusing on this. So yeah, I'm really happy that you noticed that as well. Okay, so as you know, Forever Booked has not only the marketing campaigns that we do, which is the booster shot and the social funnel, but we also have some other resources, or sources, let's call them, very credible sources that help you. I know you've been joining the collaboration calls a lot, and you also had the training in school. So why don't you tell me a little bit, did you find that helpful, or did you find that supportive? What was something that you sort of found value on the most over there?
Yeah, definitely. I think that the collaboration calls are important. I feel like every time I was able to hop on one of those, and granted, time is always an issue to get on those, but every time I did, I took away something that was going to help me further. Whether it's, I feel like a lot of the training that I did was around sales, and it didn't feel like I was terrible at sales or closing my clients on procedures, but I learned so much by going through, by sitting on those calls and asking questions specific to some of the issues we were coming across. And then also in the school, my nurse practitioner and I just sat down and did the training on the consultation training. And oh my gosh, I mean, right down to setting up your room a certain way. And so we tried it last week, and it made a huge difference. So it's been really interesting and a lot of fun to kind of learn some new skills in that area.
That sounds really exciting. Yeah, so initially the collaboration calls used to be called the sales training calls, but they kind of changed it. It's because we don't only talk about sales, we talk about different kinds of things like packaging, pricing, areas, what's a good way to talk to people, pretty much everything that we try to include. So I'm really happy that you joined them a lot. And it was my pleasure to see you all there like almost every time. So thank you for joining those calls.
Yes,
Okay,
you're welcome.
so I know that a lot of clinics will watch this. Usually, one of the reasons why we create these interviews is to sort of share others people's experiences that we've been working with them. So, what would you say to a person who's currently on the fence to sign up with us?
Yeah, I would definitely say to try it, because keeping in mind that I am a smaller med spa. As you know, my database was pretty small to start with. So, um, the other thing I want to say to them is that, I didn't, because obviously I watched these same videos before I signed on. And, when you're sitting in those shoes, you're like, is this for real? Is this really going to work? And so, one thing that I did was I started calling the spas that were on these videos and asking them the questions. And I'm like, does it really work? How's it work for your spa? Do you think it's going to work for mine? Because I'm like this little guy. Maybe I wasn't sure if this was only for the big guys. So yeah, no, and they were wonderful. They took plenty of time to answer my questions and help me, like, even through questions back at me to help me decide, how was this going to work for me? Because, I'm a small team too. I have one front desk, myself, who does most of it. And then I have a nurse and an esthetician. And I'm like, okay, who's going to do the calls? Who's going to do all these um, consultations? How is that going to work? And it was actually Kim from Beautiful who sat down with me and said, okay, this is how it could work, in your clinic. And once I had that conversation, I was sold, and I was pretty much already sold by watching the videos. But then when I had that conversation, I'm like, okay, I think it could work for me and we need to try it. So I'm glad I did.
I'm glad you did. I'm really happy that you got to speak with them as well. Our clients are usually wonderful and they're really helpful to other medical spas as well. That was one of the reasons why we actually created these collaboration calls is they love to share what they're currently experiencing as well and see whether
Yep.
they can help other medical spa owners too. All right. So I know we just signed up for the next 6 months. We're also setting up the Concierge Connect, which hopefully it's going to make your life a little bit easier over there with consultations and everything. So, what are you excited about the next 6 months? What are some big plans that you sort of have in mind?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I'm very excited about the concierge. I know we're getting ready to start that today. So I'm excited because that has been a little bit of a barrier, I think, to keep letting this grow as much as it really could because I'm having to block out my call times because I actually have to treat all these people. So that is going to make a huge difference, and I'm super excited to see what happens with that added piece because now we'll just be able to focus on doing all those consultations and all the treatments and not having to have the time taken away from my nurse and I to do those calls. So I think that's going to be huge going forward to continue the growth. Um, you and I had talked about doing running another booster shot, and I think that will be really interesting to see as well because over the past 2.5 months we've grown my list considerably now with quality clients that are interested, and so maybe if some of the people that didn't purchase the first time are now going to purchase the second time. We're coming up on New Year's, so it's always a really big time for people to start focusing on themselves, and so I'm excited to have that come into play, and just see where it goes next with those two pieces. So yeah, I'm ready.
We're ready. I'm very excited about you, Jody, and for us continuing our journey together.
Thank you.
Alrighty. So I would like to thank you for hopping on this call with me and sharing all of that wonderful information. Now let's hop on another call and talk about our next steps.
Yes, can't wait. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye, Jody.
Bye.